Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to do a quick hands-on with the initial release of the Android 11 beta on our Oppo Find X2 Pro. Oppo announced it a couple of weeks ago and yesterday they finally released it. So let's not waste any time. This is TK and this is the Find X2 Pro running Android 11 beta. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. First and foremost, this is an initial release of the beta on the Find X2 and the Find X2 Pro. It does not have all of the functioning things. This is pretty much Oppo taking, I would say, Android 11 and running it with ColorOS, and that's basically what we got. We got the initial build of it. Now, in the actual build number, it does mention something about ColorOS 7.2, so that's probably the next version of ColorOS. But essentially, it's Android 11 under the hood. So we're going to check it out. My recommendation, if you want to check this out, I would probably wait till the next beta release. But I did install it on my device so that you guys can see what is and what isn't working currently. And of course, just to kind of see the cool progress that Oppo's making with the Find X2 Pro and Android 11. Now, my installation process was not a straightforward installation. I tried installing it using the standard method with using the built-in file manager and that didn't work. I ended up having to use the recovery to be able to get it to run. So just as a heads up, again, this is probably not going to be the best one to install and try out. I'll probably wait for one that's a little bit more stable. But once I was able to get it on, it was actually pretty simple. It pretty much looks very much like Android 10.0 with the ColorOS 7.1, which is probably the latest version that you have on your ColorOS running Find X2 Pro. This one now says ColorOS 7.2, specifically because this is again a beta. So you'll notice here Android 11 sitting here on the right side. This is again the Find X2 Pro, 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of internal storage, 865 processor, and of course the Find X2 Pro. But now we notice that it says ColorOS 7.2. Now, coincidentally, even though it does say that it's a security patch update as of June 5th and I press it over, it still says technically Android 10 because we don't have an Easter egg yet for Android 11. So just kind of a heads up, it is running the latest version. And again, some of the optimizations that we have here mostly are just to get Android 11 running in a somewhat usable way for developers on our Find X2 Pro. ColorOS 7.2 looks pretty much the same as 7.1. Don't really realize or notice any kind of big differences in here. We still have the assistant sitting on the left. Dark mode is present there, so you're able to turn it on by going here. You can turn it off or turn it on depending to your preference. And did not mean to turn on Wi-Fi. We'll turn that back on. I was trying to see if they brought in some of the visual changes that we saw with the Pixel 3a that I did for you guys not that long ago. So let's go ahead and press and hold the power button and give it a second. You notice that the power menu and the automation function also has not been brought in. I'll swipe up and get us to the Recents app. You'll notice Recents app have also not worked. And you notice here there's a little bit of another bug here where it doesn't actually go all the way. So we'll close it. But again, this is intended to be just a proof of saying, hey, we were able to get Android 11 running on our device. Customizations, everything else pretty much runs the same. I did notice that we do now have under Manage Notifications, we have a bubble toggle that is available for us. One of the other things that I also noticed is that if I go under YouTube and let's say start playing a video, let's go ahead and open up subscription, we'll go under here. So window does come up here. I'll go ahead and bring it in. And now it's the ability of actually resizing. Let's go ahead here. So we can actually resize YouTube videos. So here, we'll give it again. So we can resize bigger, smaller, and of course, still use it. So that's one of the new features that came in with Android 10. So I'll go ahead and close it, sorry, Android 11. So that one actually is present. And of course, the other thing that I also did notice, if we go under settings and we'll go under permissions, and if we go under specific things like here under messages, you'll notice that the new function, what we have in Android 11 is allow only while the application is being used or ask every time, which means it's actually a single use permission or deny. So that also has been actually shown in here. Other than that, for the most part, it looks pretty much the exact same thing as ColorOS 7.1 as far as the settings tab and overall. Netflix does work. I'm able to actually log into it. And you can definitely see here, everything kind of works out pretty much the same. Now, I did notice that there's some bugs, obviously, with notifications. If I do receive notifications, they don't get grouped in the way that they're supposed to be with the new Android 11 series that we saw with the Pixel line of devices. So there's a little bit of work to be done. Obviously, this is pretty much just at least getting Android 11 to boot with ColorOS on top of it. Again, they're basing it on ColorOS 7.2. So overall, everything else looks pretty good. One of the other things I noticed that was a little bit of a hiccup, that you notice here, as I'm trying to go volume up, it's actually going down the actual line here as opposed to going up. So that was a little bit of a, I would say they just need to fix that. The shelf does actually work and it's present. You're able to access it. Every once in a while, the device will restart on its own. I've had it also if I do receive a notification. Let's say I had Hangouts installed and I got a notification from Hangout. It would basically lock the device and then kind of go screen on, off, screen on, off, screen on, off for a while till I reboot it. So definitely not a daily driver build, but I would say overall, as far as a step one, getting it to work, it's been working really good. This should be pretty much the same experience that you're going to be receiving with the Find X2 if you have access to that device. Again, those are the only two devices currently supported by Oppo for the actual beta release. And again, this is an initial release, so I would probably say if you're looking to try out the beta with Oppo on your Find X2, maybe wait till the next beta release that they push out, which generally works out all of the kinks and all the issues that they have with the first release. Because this was pretty much just getting ColorOS to run on top of Android 11, and they were able to get that. It actually does boot and it does install. I did have a few issues installing it and getting it to run. I ended up having to use a recovery installation as opposed to the standard method. But again, that just tells you that there's things that they need to work on, and I think this is definitely a move in the right direction. My goal here obviously is to be able to cover a lot of that stuff. So let me know in the comments below if you like this type of videos, showing you guys some of the new features and the updates, specifically on the beta line for Android 11 on some of the main flagships, since I do have the OnePlus devices, the Xiaomi devices, as well as the Oppo devices to cover that for you guys. Thank you very much for the support. Like and subscribe as usual, and I'll see you guys in the next video.